Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tigbun, or Benjamin Hernandez. Welcome to our first in a series of long-form content for the Pixelax Gaming. Today I am here alone. My wife is in the room, but I am focusing on the game Pillars of Eternity. Now this is going to be a pretty massive undertaking because this is a CRPG, or classic RPG, that was made by Obsidian Entertainment, one of my personal favorite game companies out there besides, BioWare and other heavy narrative game industry titles such as, Interplay and their original Fallout series. I practically grew up on Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, and those really inspired me as a dungeon master and a game master for all the role-playing games I associate myself with. We also will be looking into doing some Numenera Torment stuff as soon as that comes out of beta, because I really want to show off more of a finished product when it comes to those videos, but right now it is looking really tight and a very interesting world to explore, just as Pillars of Eternity is. Now, I really don't know much about the lore or the gameplay systems in Pillar of Eternity, so I will be doing this blind. I may have put maybe 2-3 hours on the game in advance, but I've kind of forgot about things since I really haven't picked this up in quite a while, so please don't give me too much crap when it comes to feedback on how I do my builds, or maybe not choosing the optimal things. This is more about the narrative of the game and how I'm going to play like a character I build here and kind of roleplay it out on camera here. Or, well, not camera, but on audio. So we're just going to make sure all our options are set up. I think I set these up in advance to make sure things were pretty nice here. Jeez. Okay, this looks about right. Yeah, I like this. We got our new computer set up, so things are looking pretty good for content-wise. So we're going to start a new game here. We're going to go normal mode, since I'm kind of already experienced with something similar to this. Oh, hey, they actually have a storytime mode, just in case we want to do just the story and not focus on the combat. That's actually really great. I enjoy that for people, because it makes it even more accessible for people who maybe aren't as skilled or just don't want to deal with the combat. That's a great idea as a game design. But of course, we're going to try to explore the lore of this world and really look into it, because I have invested a little bit of money into this game, and then I also invested a little bit of money into the Kickstarter for the board game that is coming out based on this world, so I would definitely like to learn a bit more about this world and explore it. My wife and I are pretty big lore nerds when it comes down to different sci-fi and fantasy worlds. Things like Tolkien and, heck, Terry Pratchett's Discworld and Frank Herbert's Dune are pretty big things that we love, so we're just going to start a normal game here and explore what we got here. Ooh, big shiny green rocks. Alrighty. Thank you, Obsidian Entertainment, for kind of being a part of this video. I know I reached out to you on Twitter, and this is kind of one of these weird things that I've never really done a long-form content before, so we'll see how this works out. I like that name, though, like Pillars of Eternity. It's very reminiscent of the old Ken Follett book, Pillars of the Earth, but that was probably a much different story from what we have here today. From what I've experienced so far, it wasn't a lot, actually. I believe that you are a character in the world based on however you kind of build your background. So we're going to try to look at maybe some of the background stuff as we build our character here for this first video. Unfortunately, we're going to be kind of stuck in loading screen hell, so there's not going to be much editing in these videos because of the long form, and also my own commentary about the game designs and the aesthetics and the lore. I'll have a little note tab for myself to kind of keep track of everything, but if you want to follow around at home, this is a good way of kind of starting off, if you're a blind player, getting introduced to how this world works. Now, I'm a big, proponent of Faerun, or Faerun, however you want to pronounce it, the Forgotten Realms universe. It is kind of a kitchen sink setting where you have a little bit of everything in there, but I find it's a nice dynamic world.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night. their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Well, that's actually very considerate, considering, well, alright, so what we've discovered so far is that I'm some sort of lone traveler, probably down on my luck, looking for a place to settle. This is kind of a classic, like, Oregon Trail feel going on right now, where we've kind of established that this character is already in a sense of weakness with being sick on the night of this event. Really good opportunity because they never really gave you much detail about your character's background, so I guess we'll have to discover that as we move forward and explore the story. So let's go into this. I'm guessing that I'm going to be getting into some like character creation and stuff here. So I might confer to my wife here what I should try playing, as far as... Oh, yep, here we are. Okay, so we got obvious choices of male and female. I do like male and female characters because they both have interesting things to offer. Especially if, you know, you're messing around with some of the gender norms of specific regions of the world, or if there's like matriarchies versus patriarchies. In this case, we have the place of men have in social varies from culture to culture. Okay, yeah, exactly. Cultures like Adir and the Dryerwood place them as the forefront of military politics and heavy labor. Among the tribes of the Nassauquik, men perform many of the homesteading and organizational duties. In Galfrin, or Glanfith, and Isamil, men and women have more fluid social roles. In all societies, there are exceptions to the rule, and men can be found in a wide variety of stations and professions. So again, yeah, this is showing off that this is clearly a more dynamic world, where it really does base itself on cultures. Now, that's something I really enjoy about like games like Forgotten Realms and specifically Numenera. They actually play on this cultural element a lot more than most other role-playing games. So I'm hoping that this one will also be in favor of this. Female. A woman's role in Eora is largely dependent on where she is from. In the Adria Empire, Villian Republics, and Drywood, women occupy many domestic, educational, and organizational roles. They are the primary hunters, soldiers, and leaders of the tribes of Nazisiqui. I'm gonna mess up these names so badly. In Garthen and Isamil, women and men have more fluid social roles. In societies, they are exceptional sections. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. So, let's go with the male because I'm comfortable playing a male character right now. Because I want to kind of base this on my own backgrounds and experiences. So, it's easier to roleplay a male character. Alrighty, so we have different races. Okay, so we have the common folk, the humans. They are the most common race, of course. Drywood, or Direwood, and the Adir Republic, Old Velia, and the... Oh, wait, these are like little footnotes. That's right, you can actually read these and have some more stuff on here about what's going on. So Dryerwood is a colonial nation founded by the settlers of the Empire. Following a series of conflicts in Adria, the territory became independent in 2672 AI. I'm guessing that's some sort of empirical measurement. And now is ruled by a Duke, who is elected 7 earls that oversee its earldoms. Alright, so... for people that don't know, like, social rules in class, Duke is kind of like a feudal lord, almost. Christy, you want to back me up on this one?
What?
A Duke? A duck? Like a feudal lord, almost? Almost like a duke?
Yeah, I just thought it was another way of saying Duke.
Yeah. So that probably means that they still confer their stuff to the Edir Empire, but they run things independently. And of course, earls are again other types of feudal lords. The Valayan republics, mercantile power and former colony of the larger, more ancient nation Old Vilea. The republic lies in the south of Direwood in the Ir Gefren, or Glanfith, and has been ruled by a duck elected by the Consoli Asira, a council of 14 ducks, including its 5 most prominent, the Dux Bells. So that's an oligarchy. That is a social structure where many people kind of get together and they are like a ruling class, but they also have elected a high president-like figure. So that's actually kind of interesting. So humans are pretty basic. They look common enough. What's the Amura here? Okay, these look kind of like almost orcish-like fellows here. The mighty Amura, Auma'ura, yeah, are the largest of the Kith races and are commonly found in or near oceans. They're aquatic race. Though not truly aquatic, they have affinity for water, and many other civilizations, such as Ratai, are known for their naval dominance. They are also known for their unparalleled strength. So they're strong swimmers, they're a strong race based around this whole idea of water. I'm guessing might, of course, is the physical attribute, as well as their ability to channel magics. Oh, so might is actually used for both things. Okay, nifty. Good to know. Good old-fashioned dwarf. The short man's race, the stout, the sturdy. Usually in most fantastical realms, they are very much the same kind of archetype, or archetype. But we'll see what it is. By virtues of the land covered in numbers... sorry. By virtue of land covered and number of colonies settled, dwarves are the most well-traveled race in the world. They are commonly found in the Direwood and the Valayan republics, and almost any colonized land. Dwarves are known for their greatest strengths and tenacity. So, again, you got kind of this strong-headed dwarf archetype that they fit into, where not necessarily the most dexterous, but they do have might and constitution. They're hardy. Yeah, this is pretty typical of most dwarves. I'd like to see maybe a little variety in there. We might play it and explore it, because I do tend to like dwarves when I play like Dragon's Age and other games like this ilk. But let's check out the next race, which usually is the elf. So the dwarfs and the elves usually have lots of contention. Okay, this is a Legolas-looking mother effer. Elves are the dominant race in the Ir-Gethith. Oh, actually, okay. Which is a territory comprised of the forest southeast of the Baal River, populated indigenous by a group of loosely affiliated tribes known as the Gefrayans, and governed by the council of its 6 most powerful elder tribes. So it's a tribal economy, so that means it's probably like a lot of trade in between these tribes, but of course the nation itself is ruled by these chieftains, much like the oligarchy or the duct system, or the duck system here. Earl Ganfrath is home to the large number of the ruined Igwithan sites, which Glanfraths hold sacred. Alright, so they find these former ruins of like an older civilization sacred. That's kind of cool. The ruins have been at the center of a number of large-scale conflicts with the Direwoodian colonists, whose settlements often encroach on these territories, and who frequently seek to plunder the ruins for their relics. Alright, so you got basically fortune hunters that come in here, and the indigenous elves here don't probably like that very much. So we've got a thing here where these guys are definitely home defenders when it comes down to what they want. They are known to be in the Ganfrith, or Glanfaith, and the White that wins. That's an interesting name. And are extremely common in the Direwood and Edir. Elves are known for their speed and intelligence, of course, as well as their commonly isolationist nature. So we have this kind of, again, high elf kind of bull crap going on here, where they're a little xenophobic even. Or at least they like to keep themselves, and they like to keep their culture to themselves. Uh, Probably not the kind of character I want to play here. What's an Orlin? Oh, it's like a little tree dude or something. Orlins are the smallest of the Kith races. I'm not sure what a Kith is. It's like a Fey race, maybe? Though many cultures don't consider them to be civilized at all. Also notable for their large ears, two-tone skin, and hirsute bodies, Orlins are commonly found in Air Griffin, Galfin. Really wish they had pronunciation, guys. The Isimil Plains and parts of the Direwood. They are known for their mental intensity and sharp senses. So again, we have bonuses to perception and resolve. So they're a bit stronger in mind and a bit more perceptive. This is definitely a gnome-like character. It looks pretty cool though. I mean, they're about the size of a dwarf, just a bit smaller. So that's actually kind of nifty. I wish I knew a little bit more about their culture, but again, they say they're not considered to be that civilized at all. Might be interesting to see what you can get away with that. Godlike. Okay. Oh, what's going on with his face? The godlikes are the children of the Kith, civilized races, quote quote, who have been blessed with the physical aspects associated with the gods, though some do not consider it a blessing. So these are like tieflings or tieflings, however you want to pronounce that, from like most Dungeons and Dragons settings. These aspects take on many forms, often come with mystical powers. Aberrant head shapes are typical, and godlikes are unable to wear protective headgear, as it is nearly impossible to find anything that fits. Because of their unnatural or unusual nature, and their inability to reproduce, godlikes are often viewed with fear and wonder. Okay, so that's kind of nifty. So they can't actually reproduce, but they also are born at an early state with these abilities. Definitely an interesting kind of character type. Shoot, this is really tough. All right, we're gonna roll the dice on this one. Christy, what do you think?
I'm not listening to you. What's going on?
Pick a race.
I don't know.
Roll a six-sided die.
5.
Alright, so we're doing Orlins. So we're a little gnome dude. Sounds good. Okay, well, we got two choices now. We've got Herf and Wild. Alright, the Herf Orlins are often found as slaves in Redcaris, or Redcarisus, Drywood's neighbor to the north, often rooted with the Ethiopian faith, and a fervor that took hold during the events of the Saints' War and remains after the appearance. Oh. So it's like a dead nation that is now run by slavers, who's highly involved in their faith. And the Valayan republics, one of the treaty terms between the Direwood and the people of the Galfrinth is that the liberation of Orlan slaves, and while this has been honored, many hardy Herf Orlans continue to live on Direwood as indentured servants. Ooh. Minor threat. When attacking any target that is also being targeted by a teammate, you can convert some of your hits into crits. So you're actually more likely to crit with this. That's kind of cool. Wild Orlans are the original Orlans who lived in the deepest forest jungles between the tropics. While they have been significantly separated from the Herf Orlans for over 1,000 years, few genetic differences have appeared rapidly, most notably lack of facial hair in the Herf Orlan branch. Wild Orlans are common in the deep reaches of Air Glanfith, Faith. Unlike their Herf Orlan brethren, they do not often see the Drywood Recaris or the Valayan republics. Defiant Resolve. After being subjected to a will attack, you temporarily gain a bonus to all defenses. So we have the interesting choice. We can be a potential indentured slave as a character, or a wildling. Both are kind of social outcasts, so we're going to probably have to roll between one of these two that we like more. Indentured servitude is actually an interesting concept because that's the whole idea that you're basically living to pay off some sort of debt. So let's go with that. That sounds interesting. Alright, so now we got our classes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wow, that's a lot of classes. So we have our typical fighter, which is usually the military type, which it does clearly state here that they are most commonly found in most cultures. They are well established as mercenaries, bodyguards, and other types of sellswords. They focus on endurance and melee defense, and they get these abilities here, which gives them recovery for endurance, which I assume is some sort of stat that means how well you are in combat, as well as some athletics, some lore, and survival, which is kind of nifty. Now, we are playing a character who gets more crits, basically, whenever they are dealing with combat and working with a team. So it would make sense to make this a character who works well with a team. As an indentured servant, we're probably less likely to go with something where you're going to have maybe some magical potential or anything that requires a lot of time, unless it's, I guess maybe a paladin? I don't know, let's see what paladins are good for. Martial zealots devoted to their gods, rulers, and way of life. They can be found in a culture where fanatical groups of like-minded individuals have formed a warrior society. Oh boy. Many paladins hold leadership positions in armies and military or mercenary companies. Often in the heat of their battle, their fanaticism often overrules the chain of command and common sense. That doesn't really make sense for our kind of character here. Again, indentured servant leaves out this kind of... we're looking at a civilized race, but I don't see this guy really worshipping that many gods and holding him in fanaticism. So that's going to probably get rid of priests as well, which, again, this is like a cleric race. In contrast, the paladins, priests tend to focus on the philosophy, teachings, and relationship. So you could actually almost see this a little bit. Again, they have some holy spells and other things that we can look at. Barbarians, these are usually the uncultured types. If we were doing the wild guy, this would probably be where we're starting with. Because these barbarians are rough and crude warriors, but they all are also like sellsword types. So maybe this guy broke away from indentured servitude and found himself taken in either by the church or the wild. You know, we got these chanter class, which again looks like some sort of mage class, using innovations and reenactments. Oh. Okay, this is, yeah, again, like a sorcerer type. So, we broke out of indentured servitude, and what happened to our life then? You know, what really moved this character to become what he is today? An ancient discovery in the Eastern Reach, ciphers are called Brishwagen, Shalwyn, or mine hunters. They have the ability to directly contact and manipulate another person's souls and psyche using an ally's or enemy's essence to focus on their magics. Though most ciphers are still found in the Eastern Reach, practitioners of the technique have spread throughout the unknown world. They have gained acceptance over time, but are generally distrusted, especially by the undereducated. Ooh, this is kind of a nifty one. So you got kind of a scion-like class here. So maybe that's another reason why this guy got out of servitude. Druid, again, we got this idea of a druid as an animist who lives in the wild and focuses on the living world around him. This could be an interesting accomplishment to do here, because we got this character who is probably not as attached to his, kin and his ability to miss out on kind of the nature. But this is maybe him trying to regain a former nature that he had lost, through his breeding and just the way he grew up. Now, Rogue is actually a personal favorite of mine, because these guys are good at disarming traps, and they're usually quite sneaky, and not only that, but also quite astute or well-educated, which makes the kind of sense for a civilized character, especially an indentured servant, because someone who's smaller like this could probably be used as like someone who goes out and acquires things by any means necessary. In this case, we have the dark back alleys, heart of the battlefield skirmishes. Though unpredictable and undisciplined, rogues are commonly used for shock troops as part of surprise assaults and by either withering attacks, breaking enemy ranks, and killing morale, basically. They tend to congregate in larger numbers of cities, where they can be steadily employed as mercenaries or hired muscles. So again, this works well with the fighter idea. Wizard, I just don't like wizards that much in these kind of games because, again, we're going through it our first time. Wizards are a little complex to play, but it is kind of nifty to have the idea of being a mage assistant and maybe actually becoming a mage himself because of his indentured servitude at the time. Then we have the monk. Common folk respect the incredible discipline of the monk and see them as old, unpredictable bunch who may not be entirely sane. Even mercenaries and other adventurers aren't sure what to make of them. So monks are melee fighters who focus on dealing damage with their fists and unarmed attacks, wearing little armor. So we got a lot of these basic kind of D&D-esque classes. I really hate to keep comparing it to them, but a lot of these are archetypes that we've seen in D&D. So let's try the Cypher. I think that sounds like the most interesting because it seems to be kind of like a melee wizard type class. It does get benefits from stealth lore mechanics, which seem very gnome-esque, or rather Orlean-esque, or Orlen. It's really hard to say some of this stuff. Alrighty, so let's see what we got here. Okay, we get powers that we start with. We get 2 of these. Alright, so Antipathic Field. Create a toxin physical manifestation of the mutual antipathy between the Cypher and the target enemy. Enemies caught in the path between the two will suffer corrosive damage. So it requires us to focus on an area, has an average speed range, deals a beam of corrosive damage versus reflex with counting our accuracy, which is based on our accuracy stat, I'm assuming. So we want to maybe look at our accuracy stat. I kind of like this because it's a nice little standard attack, focusing on damage. Eye Strike. Shocks the enemy's visual receptors, dazzling and blinding them, as well as blinding other nearby targets. So this is something that probably will hit friendlies if we're not careful. Blinded for 10 seconds, dazed for 10 seconds, accuracy plus 10 versus fortitude. So it's actually easier to pull this off against somebody. And then we also get plus 5 on everybody else with our accuracy for people inside the AoE. That's interesting. Mind Wave. Alright. Target becomes an object of concussive blast of physical or psychic energy, suffering raw damage from trauma. Characters in the conical area behind the target failing a fortitude check are knocked prone from the blast. So, wait, does that actually deal damage to ourselves? Alright, so this is raw damage, so raw damage just bypasses a bunch of conditions. Okay, actually, it's the target takes raw damage, and then anyone else around it actually gets knocked prone. Now, prone is actually really interesting because prone, of course, means that they lose their dexterity a little bit and reflexes are down, so this is actually a really good ability. So maybe we'll take Mind Wave as a definite one. Soul Shock. Briefly transforms the outer shell of the allies into energy, releasing electrical bursts around them. Characters standing in the area take shock damage. So this is just a standard AoE where we focus this on ourselves. Everything around us becomes shocked versus reflex. It's not bad. Tenuous Grasp. Assails the target's grasp on reality, frightening and confusing them. So this is versus their will with our accuracy plus 10. Confused for 6 seconds, possibly frightened for 15 seconds. So that means they're probably going to run away and they are going to maybe attack anybody around them instead. That's kind of cool. That's a nice little ability when you're wanting to fight a group of people. So I think right now though we focused on one focus damage attack, which attacks a singular target here. And then we also have some AoE damage with the Mind Wave, but we'll take a look at Whisper of Treason still. Imparts a bed eviling secret into an enemy which causes his allegiance to bend, charming them for the duration. So this is actually really one of those strong ones, because charming effects in these kind of games are really huge, because if you can pull them off, they will have your enemies attack each other. That's tough. Like, do I want to be more damage, or do I want to be more effect focused? Or should I try to blend the two? I really like this ability of the Mind Wave to do raw damage and knock people prone, because prone is probably one of the better ways to kind of make people lose out on their abilities. But I'm going to try Whisper of Treason, actually, because I want to see how this works out for me, and if all else fails, I'm pretty sure when I level up I will get access to more of these powers to unlock. So, alrighty, so they actually marked out which ones we want to focus on the most here. So we have Intelligence, Dexterity, and Might. So what I know about Intelligence is that it actually recommends it because it increases our reflex as well as our accuracy. So we'll see about probably keeping our attributes fairly well rounded, but let's focus on Intellect, because that's going to give us more will as well as more abilities to unlock later on. Then we'll get a little bit of Dexterity in there. It seems like everything's like a 1-to-1. We're going to do some Might in here so we can actually attack. And because we're going to focus on a little bit of melee damage as well, we're going to take some Con. So now we're going to probably try to optimize our build here. Let's do 1 or 2 more points of Intellect, and let's put that last one into Dexterity. So there we go. That looks good. I mean, all stats are good to have, I'm guessing, but as you level up, I'm pretty sure you only get so many points to spend, so this is really important to spend these in a pretty decent manner where you're going to have either some well-rounded stuff. We can actually reduce our points down, so we could actually reduce our Resolve to increase another stat if we wanted to. I think maybe we reduce our Perception and go for another Might and another Intelligence. So that's again a little bit more well-rounded. We like characters with some flaws because it'll make them a bit more interesting as we tell our story. Alright, oh hey, culture. So I can actually choose where this person came from. So again, the most powerful empire in the world gives them an extra resolve. Do we look at the abilities here to make sure that we're getting optimize our abilities? Or are we focusing on things that we're getting from the storyline? Dreadfire Archipelago. Consisting of the nations of the Nas... Okay, so this is again the place where a lot of people are not quite as, well, cultured. So I kind of had this idea for a cultured former indentured servitude, so... farm residents, one of the oldest cultures in the world, at the very least a little imperialistic, having spread out a little over the past few years. Old Valea, so this is again a rich cultural heritage, focusing on many humans and dwarves. Ratui, or Rautai, this one actually has some of the Orleans and dwarves, though these are countries that are relatively young. They are some of the most advanced colonial settlements of the East. The Gulf is a lake of riches. I like this, actually. This is kind of nice. Living lands. Mountainous region, northern islands, known for its diversity of animal and plant life. The weather and ecosystem is very unpredictable and varies dynamically from valley to valley. Interesting. So this is kind of like the Dale lands, where it's very much a shifting climate. The White of the Winds, or the White that Wends. A large cracked southern expanse of polar ice. Eesh. Home of the pale elves and the small colonies of daring explorers, outcasts, and adventurers. While virtually no plant life grows in the White, it is home to many hardy species of dangerous animals that forage on the sea and prey upon each other to survive. So that's why you get that extra perception in there. Let's go with the Ratai, because that sounded really nice, because again, it's an older nation, or it's a nation kind of built on this whole idea of it's somewhat cultured, and it's got this nice lake of riches. So let's go on to the next. Alright. Oh, background. So we actually get to assign some of the background to our character. So we were going to have probably a former slave here. You've never been freed or shackled. Oh, wait, he's still a slave. Okay, that's actually really impressive. So, he could be still a slave, maybe on the run. I'm not going to go aristocrat, because that means that he came from nobility. You know, lavish meals, extravagant parties. That would be interesting to play for a very high social character, but let's see what this is here. Drifter, you never quite fit in no matter where you go. Each new town is just another place to briefly rest before moving on. You are comfortable on the road and traveling the world. That's kind of nice, because we got this idea of a person that's just kind of an outcast. Although we got this too, a laborer. You spent most of your time in study into your craft. You have trained and prepared, hoping to hone your skills and apply your trade. So this guy was kind of like a forger or somebody who was working in like the iron works or something. We've got dissident. You've made a name for yourself as a troublemaker. You have disrespect for authority and a lack of care regarding the rules of lack of care regarding the rules are recurring themes in your life. I kind of like that, actually. Yeah, this guy is... He's not fit in because of his psychic powers, and he's broke the chains of his bonds as an indentured servant, became a sellsword, and started going out into the world, and he's just trying to get by on his own code. So again, like a paladin, we're having our own kind of code here. Alright, so we gotta choose how we want him to look. Well, let's give him some sort of facial hair, because facial hair is awesome. I like kind of these little goatee things. We got 13 different styles of facial hair. That's impressive. I'm thinking this one, because it's not quite full beard, but it looks pretty cool. Let's see what we got for head options. We only got 2 of these. I still like number 1 here. Hair. Dreadlocks. Kind of like the mohawk, actually. Let's stick with the mohawk, because mohawks are cool. Okay, portraits. Okay, they only have like so many male... Oh, wow, there's only like 2 of these portraits. Can we make our own, possibly, or are we stuck with this one? That's one thing I kind of don't like about these kind of games, is like, unless you find a way to like bring in your own drawings, it's really hard to like pick a portrait that you want to work off of. Now, if you had a character that you saw these portraits for in advance, maybe it would be more fun, because then you could actually like base your character on the portraits themselves. But instead, they choose to have you do the portrait all the way at the end of this. There's a little something to be said about that, honestly, because there are some games where you will see the portrait first, and it'll make like a pre-made character for you. In this case, I like the focus on making the character first, but it would be kind of nice if you had the option to kind of make a screenshot of your character, or if there was some way that they could modify this. So I guess we'll just stick with this one, because it's kind of broody looking. Primary hair color. Or no, that's his primary armor color. I'm usually more of a green kind of person myself, but that's a little too, you know, druidy. So let's go with kind of a hardy brown. Let's go with the secondary color. Let's definitely go with like a red, because he's like a bit of an outcast. Skin. Oh, you can actually have like a green skin. Let's go kind of this off yellow. That looks nice. And hair color. Some interesting varieties. Actually, that's kind of cool. Oh, shoot. It's really tough to choose. I know this video is going to go long just for character creation, but again, it's about world building and lore, so we're going to focus a lot on that in this series. Oh, alright.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Watch and learn. Yeah! They'll never know I'm here.
Okay.
Well, now I am the leader of the group. Keeping an eye out.
That's a little too gruff.
I'm flattered.
Ah!
Not a sound. I'm here. I'm flattered.
Stand together.
Benevolent isn't bad. Stoic.
Follow me.
Let's go.
Eh,
Nice and
it's
slow.
a bit. Alright.
I've got this.
Oh.
Let's go!
My eyes are peeled.
Yeah? I've got this.
Sounds really young, but like
Let's
you could
go!
almost see that coming from a
Time
little guy.
to see and not be seen.
Yeah, let's try that one. You know, he's a smaller dude, so it kind of works. Alright, so now I gotta make a character name. I don't know any, like, good Orlean names, because I don't know the world very well. So, I'm thinking we go with something pseudo-fantasy sounding. Let's go, let's think gnome here. So, like, Geneflin or, Jirog? I don't know. I mean, I usually go Pete or Bob when it comes down to human names. But Orlean, so let's think of, like, Harad. Yeah, we'll call him Harad. Oh, can I actually have a last name too? Harad Fire Main. Oh wow, there is a lot of room in here. Let's take it. Okay, we got like almost 26 characters worth of stuff in here. I actually like Fire Main, so that's really silly sounding, but I'll take it. Alright, we are done. So we'll click this button and see if what other story comes around. And I think we'll call it a video after that. Really pretty texturing on this. Really interesting world building. We got some large crystals here. Caravan Master Odema. The Caravan Master finishes addressing the group. His bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quiver as if for emphasis. Ooh, okay, so he's scared as crap.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods toward a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who would be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks.
Okay, so we're talking like these really protective elves again, or just maybe protective people. People who maybe worship these rocks or runes.
Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
At last, the Caravan Master turns to you, frowning as he looks you over.
Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, of course. Which case you'll be dead in a day.
Okay, so basically we got some form of like dysentery, or something by the sounds of it. The Rumbling Rot, that's an interesting name for it, but honestly, it seems like it's a contact from some sort of stinging beetle, he says, so I guess a similar thing would be kind of like a red fever or something like that. It's really hard to say, but obviously it's something that you need to stay hydrated for, so I guess we'll have to get water here.
There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry, about the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. So that's actually kind of based on some of the old frontier medicine that we used to have in the U.S. The idea that if you had a tea or something, like brewing a compound breaks down some of the stuff that actually makes it worse for you to eat. This is actually something that you see in a lot, like juniper berries or stuff like that, I believe. Stuff you used to make gin, honestly. I'm not any sort of botanist, and I'm not speaking from experience here, but that's, again, an interesting idea, is using still medicine in a world where you still have lots of healing clerics and stuff like that. And actually, it would be kind of funny being a cleric and needing to eat one of these berries still, even though my faith should protect me. Since I guess gods do exist in this system, I guess we'll see. We'll see about getting that berry.
I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
Okay. He looks over his shoulder at his assistant, a lanky, intense man named Sparfle, who carries an old sun-bleached bow. Sparfle nods and slides the worn bow over his shoulder. So this guy's going to help us get some water here for our character. So now we can ask him some questions. Yeah, where are we going to find these berries?
They grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
Alright, so we're looking for a pretty common plant. So why aren't we carrying the supply with us already? Maybe it's just some of those things you don't want to keep with you, or as far as a form of medicine when you're out on the Oregon Trail here. So what is in these ruins anyways?
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to
Okay,
be
that's how you
made
pronounce
selling
it.
their knickknacks in Defiance Bay, if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear.
Alright, so he's saying there is money to be made on this, but he doesn't want to stick out his neck for it. So Glonfoth, so that's how it's pronounced. So sorry about that, folks.
Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
Okay, so we got a little tutorial that popped up here. Based on your character's skills, class, race, culture, and sex, they may open up different dialogue options. These are not necessarily superior to any response given, but they offer a wide selection of choices. The manner in which someone responds to your choice depends on your individual personality and attitude. So that's kind of nice. So we can really build up this character here, which I pretty much forgot his name, Firemane. So we have this inquisitive thing that we can kind of ask, who did build these runes?
Got different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans.
Ingwithan.
Nobody that
Alright.
liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
Well, yeah, I think it's because they killed themselves or from some sort of war or something. So is it dangerous out here?
Not if you hurry about your business.
In other words, we want to make haste and get out of here before anybody like these Equithans or Githarans come after us.
And not if the weather holds up.
There's a concerned tone, a concern in his tone, but he does not elaborate. Yeah, okay, so when you bring up the weather, what kind of weather do we get up here?
This time of year, rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a Beowick, born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never cared to.
Okay, that's a lot of stuff. What the heck is a Beowick? What's he mean by the spirit's path? I guess... Yeah, what's up with these huge rocks coming out of the ground? There.
They don't got Adra where you come from?
Alright,
Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories. It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days. The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
Okay, so we have some sort of weird crystalline structure that apparently is tied to the nature of this world, either one way or another. I'm guessing it has something to do with the Beowick here. Interesting. So it's something that is raw and magical when it's in the earth and connected to whatever source it's coming from, but when it's pulled apart, it's not as impressive anymore. So I'm assuming it's kind of like cutting off a tissue off of a dead cell or something, It's just something you don't want to see. Let's
Hold
go
on.
get these berries.
Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
He scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, ironclad woman who has spent the journey's nights sleeping on uneven ground without a blanket or a pillow. Okay, so that tells us she's pretty tough.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time, so she takes her time and doesn't really pay much attention to him, I guess.
He needs to find some spring berries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Alright, I like her attitude. Obviously she's not getting paid enough for this bull crap.
Don't listen to her, you're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything.
Odama chuckles and shakes his head. He looks at you. After that dialogue, he casts a sidelong glance at her. And I pay you too, if anything. That's pretty great.
Off with you. Hayadin should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Beowick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
Alright, well, that's kind of racist, I guess. I'm not sure. Alrighty,
You heard the
so
man. Let's get going before you keel over.
we are finally in the game, so we will continue the adventures here and after the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to Pillars of Eternity. I'm just as amused as you are, I'm guessing, if not more. So we'll see what this world has to offer us.